Boom, howdy. For those of you who do not know me, I am Schlebo. On average, I am a diamond level TFT player in OCE. Um, this is no scout, no pivot. I don't know where to look, but I'm doing this in one take, so this is going to be quite good. Um, Essentially, the premise of this video is I'm going to go play a bunch of comps in a game of TFT in TFT. um, I'm gonna spam them. I'm going to force them. Not gonna scout. I'm not gonna pivot. And I'm sort of just gonna build up show how I went, break it down, give my thoughts on the comps, the pitfalls, all that kind of stuff. To do with the comp. So yeah, no scout, no pivot. That's really straightforward, right? I have to play the comp that I'm setting out to play. Um, well, what are the other like variants? Like, can I, sort of pivot off? Obviously not. But what can I do within the comp that I've been given? So, essentially, for this one, we're doing the Moonlight Diana, which is now Spirit Diana, and essentially you have a couple routes you can go, whether it's six assassin, four assassin, and some other bits and pieces. But knowing the limits and different variations of a comp is important for anything like this, and pretty much every comp in TFT has something like this. So we'll go through that. Why should you listen to me? I'm the best. I have been playing since set one. I, by all means, am not the best. But I like to play a lot. I like to test out different comps. TFT is very exciting to me. I like to sort of keep up with what's going on. I've never finished below plat at the end of a set so far, but I've recently got to master. Otherwise, I'm on average a mid diamond sort of level player. And is this really the best way to test and play comps out? Of course not. Arguably, this is a terrible way if you want to climb. But I think it has its benefits in that it helps limit test, which I think is important to me in how I've recently been climbing a lot. Um, it shows me how the comp performs at its best and at its worst, and how forcible it is, how reliable it can be. What are the pitfalls? What you definitely don't want to do, and what to do in different situations. So I think, if you're willing to learn, this can be sort of an interesting way to practice. So that brings us to Diana stacking. Lots of fun. Essentially, it's a slow roll comp. I didn't put that in here, but it's one where you want to not level. You want to get to 50 gold and slow roll. So just sort of spend all your money off the top, refreshing down to 50, looking for Diana's. Get her to 3 star as soon as possible. Um, this is what I was talking about with the variants. So there's a couple different ones you can do. At the moment with 4.5, you can do a six assassin variant, which you put all six assassins, or you put all five assassins out. One of them is chosen, or you get a spat, and then you also get four spirit out with it, and you play that one. Or you can sacrifice the six assassin if you don't get a chosen, if you don't get a spat. You just play four assassin, four spirit, and then you can put in, I think a Jana goes quite well because that way you hit Mystic and Enlightened with the Talon. In that situation, you might want to lean into the Talon a little more. And I've seen some other builds where you put Mystic in, but in that situation, you obviously can't put a Kali in. You need Shen. It's good against heavy AP lobbies, I guess, with like lots of magic damage, but personally not for me. Didn't really play it. Can't really comment on it. Um, Item wise, it's pretty straightforward for me. I had two non-negotiable items. You need IE and Titan's Resolve. These were by far the best items for Diana. I 100% Titan's Resolve just synergizes really well. It goes good with Yasuo, goes really good with Diana, especially on assassins. Otherwise, there were some other third items that I really liked. Hodge and Hextech Gunblade. I always preferred Gunblade if I could, but Hodge, very good. Anything defensive like Dragon's Claw, Warmogs, QSS is sort of like the third item slot is sort of up to you. Depends on, depends on your lobby, but I definitely would try and lean into Hodge or QS or Hextech if you can. Pike was my other sort of utility item holder. I used to like I love giving him a Sunfire cape. I just think it's really good. Good anti-heal, good sort of residual damage, especially with Diana, how tanky she gets. Otherwise, the other carriers, Akali, Talon, you just sort of do their preferred items. So, your IRFC, jeweled gauntlet kind of thing for Akali. Talon, you do your big AD items, your BT and GA and all that. Never really stacked Cat. Cat just is like without Warlord, it just doesn't really work. I don't think. Not for me. I'd be impressed if someone could show me how to do it. And then in terms of your backups, how do you rescue lost games? Was really interesting because Diana is your main carry, but if it doesn't quite work out, what do you do? How do you try and save the game? Some of the things I did were Akali was like my best friend. I used to just funnel everything into Akali if Diana really stopped working well, or if I didn't get a Diana chosen, sometimes I would rely on another chosen and sort of build around them. But Akali was really good, especially if you could stack her, and a three-star Akali could definitely get you a top two, top three. But otherwise, Akali really big sort of help there. Just needs items. Pushing eight, getting all of your other units and synergies online is sort of the next best thing. Focusing on your other units, so Talon, Akali, um, sometimes the spirits, but like that would just be Kindred in that case. And then to sort of, because you sort of take Diana out of the spotlight, you sort of focus on more tank items on her. So Titans, I sure, but then like Declaw, or if you're putting all those important items on someone else, you put Titans, Sunfire, Cape, Declaw, or something on Diana. She's still really strong, especially if you can get her at a 3-star, but she turns into your tank. If stuff really does start to go to shit, just focus on a top four. Just sort of, I reckon, leveling and getting that top four focus is like really important. So at the end of set four, I had already played 20 games of this comp, and I thought it would be cool to play another 20 of the same comp and how it's sort of changed and comment on that. So this is what patches I played this one on. This was the Moonlight variant. My general thoughts: very terrible late game. Very, very hard to pull a win out, especially with all the people playing Bill Gates. You just slam all the 5 costs. This comp didn't scale very well at the end of the sort of stage. Like as you got into stage 5 and stuff, it just sort of fell off a cliff. And it was super inconsistent. And given how strong Aphelios and Silas was, it is just so rough to try and find all the units. And the comp didn't work without all the Moonlight units because you needed to 3-star them. Like just all of the caveats of Moonlight put so much pressure on this comp, and it made it so inconsistent and difficult to force. If you hit, it was okay, but even then you were being contested. Um, Otherwise, very exciting. Assassins are fun. They're explosive. They sort of jump into the enemy line and just blow up all the carries. So it's fun. It is very, very fun to play. But out of the 20 games I played, at the end I had a 48 LP game. So on average, I was winning more LP than I was losing. Here's sort of a visual representation. I'm not going to spend heaps of time going through it. Here is roughly what the comp would also look like. This was just something I pulled. There were, there's obviously 5 costs in here, which sort of goes with what I was saying. The comp needs the 5 costs into the late game to even be viable. But didn't get a single first, also didn't get a single fifth. But outside of that, you can see the games where I do finish top four, a lot of them were Moonlight chosen games. Typically, that doesn't account for whether it was Moonlight Diana or another Moonlight unit. But the games where I do get top four, like it was very difficult outside of the Moonlight Chosens to get into the top four because without the Moonlight Chosen, you never really got your 4-star Moonlight unit, which was Diana, going anywhere. And then below that, it was sort of there was lots of sevenths. So you could Diana's still very strong. You could save it from the eighth, but I think it was sort of you either hit and do well, and that's what all the Moonlight games sort of represent the top four. Otherwise, it's just sort of a bit of a shocker. I don't know how that. I don't remember it either. How that game with the second with no chosen, but I think that just goes to show like the power of assassin and burstiness and all that kind of stuff. Um, Moving on to the spirit, the 4.5. So Diana obviously got a big rework. Um, got a slight nerf in the B patch. So these were the two patches I played these 20 games on. I don't think it really was too bad. It was just, sort of the big change was obviously losing Moonlight, getting Spirit, and then sort of how she was rescaled because she didn't have a 4 star anymore. So everything was sort of brought in line with now how, like, all the other one costs 1, 2, and 3 work. A lot easier to play, I think. A lot more flexible. You don't have to rely on Moonlight. Moonlight was like you the comp died whether you got the Moonlight sort of going or not. Whereas this time around it's a lot easier. You get all the same sort of burstiness, same sort of like violence from jumping in with the assassins, and I really like that. It's all the good bits, but it's a lot easier now, I think, and a lot more comfortable to play. And it feels a lot better going into the late game. I don't know if that is a symptom of the Moonlight and Spirit changes, or if that's a symptom of the meta right now. But it feels like it's a lot better to go into the later stages of the game and still perform quite well. Um, the LP gain here is a little odd. So I obviously did. This was the first comp I started playing, and I got 309 LP straight off the bat with my promos. But even after that, the 15, if you don't include those first five, the 15 games I played afterwards, I still finished positive 242. But I obviously it was start of the set, so I was reset a whole division. So the LP gain might not be too important here. Again, sort of rough idea of what the comp looks like. For Spirit, Assassins, one of them chosen. Um, it's a lot more skewed to top fours here. I played it a lot better. It felt a lot more comfortable to play. I actually got some first, and I didn't finish eighth or fifth again in this version of the comp. I think the assassin, on average, the assassin chosen was a lot more comfortable and straightforward to play. But I made the spirit one work a couple times, but it also sort of failed me a couple times here. Um, Outside of that, I don't really know what else to say other than it just sort of, there's a lot more wins this time around, and I think the comp just plays a lot easier. I think it's a lot easier to just sort of grab your units and sort of go. Um, my overall thoughts, the spirit one's a lot better. The 4.5 Diana, if you're gonna play it, it's a lot easier to do. It's contested a lot because it is very good, but not in the same way that Moonlight is. You don't just lose if you don't hit the Moonlight. It's still sort of workable. Enjoyment wise, when you do hit, it's great. Everyone loves assassins, right? Forcing the comp can be a little rough though, especially when you're getting contested. But what I think is more important is if you're not hitting the right items, this comp is just shit. If you're only getting tears and rods, it can be fine. Like if you know how to work around what you're given, it's fine, right? It depends, changes who you carry is in the end, whether it's Talon, Akali, or Diana. But if you're not getting any gloves or swords, like there's no chance you're getting a good Diana out. Anything the like assassin that you play, Bramble will fuck you. So keep an eye out. Some of the games I played where you get your lucky lantern. Another thing, the loaded die like really makes this comp fucking easy as and wonderful to play. I wasn't keeping track of. I completely forgot about it to be honest. I wasn't keeping track of what games I didn't have a loaded die, but it makes the re-rolling a lot easier. Um, but otherwise, some games people get two vests out of the loaded die, and everyone just builds a fucking bramble because there's an assassin player in the lobby. So being able to play around that, or at least identify that that's going to be a pitfall for the comp, is important. But this was the final game I got. I was offered the assassin Diana in the game that I ended up like leveling up to masters, and it plays fine. It plays fine at a lot of different elos. If you know what you're doing, if you want to play 20 games of it just to work out how the comp goes, I would highly advise you do that. So stay tuned for more no scout, no pivot. Um, if you do enjoy it, please let me know. Show me some love down in the comments. Smash the like and subscribe, and smash your keyboard saying, "Oh, this is the shittest thing ever. Stop making these," because I will keep making them. Follow me on Twitter. That's the most important thing. Follow me on Twitter. And over time, as I do more and more comps like this, I want to do a power rankings. This will become a lot more clean. I'm not going to say it's going to become more rehearsed because I'm all about the one take. Don't have to edit that way. And yeah, with time, I'll play more of these comps, sort of get a good idea of where I want to rank them throughout set 4.5, and we might do a little tier ranking at the end where I sort of rate all the different comps given the contexts. Otherwise, thank you so much. Stay tuned and keep an eye out for more forced comps.